The robbery was supposed to be simple. Hit the upscale yoga studio during evening class when wealthy clients had their purses and jewelry. But the three masked gunmen made one fatal mistake. They assumed the petite woman leading the meditation session would be their easiest target. Chen let them get close enough to feel confident, then reminded them why underestimating a Special Forces veteran is never a good idea. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we begin this incredible story of a quiet yoga instructor whose peaceful exterior concealed 8 years of Special Forces training, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe that true strength comes from unexpected places, hit that subscribe button and share this story to help us honor those who protect the innocent in ways we never see coming. The Serenity Wellness Studio in downtown Seattle's financial district had become the sanctuary for high-stress professionals who needed to decompress after brutal corporate days. At 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 8th, the dimly lit studio was filled with investment bankers, tech executives, surgeons, and lawyers who paid premium rates for Chen's specialized stress relief sessions. Sarah moved through the candlelit space with fluid grace that had made her Seattle's most sought-after yoga instructor over the past 5 years. At 32, she possessed serene presence that immediately calmed anxious minds and tense bodies. Her students saw a petite woman with gentle movements and a soft voice who guided them through poses with encouraging patience. What they didn't see was how Sarah systematically assessed every person entering her studio, noting their posture and movement patterns with analytical precision that had nothing to do with yoga training. They didn't notice how she positioned herself to maintain visual access to all entrances, or how her casual stretches were actually tactical positioning for instant response to danger. "Let's begin tonight's session by finding our center," Sarah said in her trademark soothing tone, while her trained eyes scanned the street outside through large windows facing Pine Street. "Close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Release the tensions of the day." Tonight's 12 students represented Seattle's financial elite. Margaret Williams carrying a $5,000 Hermes bag, David Park wearing a Rolex worth more than most cars, Jennifer Morrison, whose diamond bracelet caught candlelight with every movement. They had chosen the 7 p.m. slot because it fit their demanding schedules, but their predictable timing had made them perfect targets for criminals who understood wealthy professionals following routine patterns. "Focus on your breath," Sarah continued, guiding the class through opening meditation while conducting threat assessment that had become second nature after 8 years in the Army's 75th Ranger Regiment. "Let go of the need to control everything around you." But Sarah never let go of control. Even in the peaceful environment she had created, part of her mind remained operationally alert, processing ambient sounds and maintaining situational awareness that her students would never suspect their gentle instructor possessed. At 7:23 p.m., as the class moved into their first poses, Sarah heard something that activated her internal alarm. A vehicle parking outside with quick, deliberate movement of people not planning to stay long. Sarah maintained gentle instruction while processing the tactical situation developing outside. Through peripheral vision, she observed 3 men exiting a dark SUV with movements suggesting coordination and planning rather than casual activity. Their body language indicated purpose and aggression that had nothing to do with evening yoga. "Excellent form, everyone," Sarah said calmly, guiding students through warrior pose while noting the 3 men were now positioned strategically around the building, one at front entrance, one covering rear exit, one moving toward main windows. Her Special Forces training had taught her to recognize impending assault signs, coordinated positioning, tactical timing, controlled movements of people who had rehearsed their actions. This wasn't random crime. It was planned robbery targeting her wealthy clientele. "Let's transition into tree pose," Sarah instructed, using the movement to position herself closer to weapons she kept concealed throughout the studio, items appearing to be decorative elements but could become defensive tools in trained hands. The first man entered through the front door at 7:26 p.m., his ski mask and drawn pistol immediately shattering the peaceful atmosphere Sarah had cultivated for 5 years. Her students' terrified gasps provided the distraction she needed to begin tactical response. "Nobody move!" the gunman shouted with aggressive confidence of someone believing he controlled the situation. "This is a robbery! Everybody on the ground now!" Sarah raised her hands in apparent submission while conducting rapid threat assessment. The first gunman was nervous and inexperienced, holding his weapon incorrectly. The second man entering from rear was more professional with better tactical awareness. The third remained outside as overwatch, suggesting operational planning. "Please don't hurt anyone," Sarah said in the same soft voice she used for instruction, while her combat-trained mind calculated angles, distances, and movement sequences that would neutralize all three threats with minimal risk to students. "Shut up and get down!" the first gunman ordered, moving closer with confidence of someone seeing a small, defenseless woman posing no threat. That confidence would be his fatal mistake. Sarah had allowed him within optimal range, close enough that his weapon couldn't track her movements, close enough that her superior training would overcome his size advantage, close enough that she could end the threat before his partners reacted. The first gunman was now less than 4 feet away, weapon pointed at Sarah's center mass, body language indicating complete confidence. He had no idea he was about to become victim of someone whose peaceful exterior concealed 8 years of the most advanced combat training the U.S. military could provide. Sarah's transition from yoga instructor to special forces operative took exactly 2.3 seconds. The first gunman never saw Sarah's initial movement because it originated from a position he wasn't monitoring. A low, fluid motion from yoga-trained flexibility executed with combat precision, belonging to someone who had neutralized armed threats in Afghanistan's most dangerous territories. Her left hand deflected his weapon, while her right elbow drove into his solar plexus with force that instantly incapacitated his breathing and dropped him to his knees. Before he could recover, Sarah's knee connected with his temple in a strike that rendered him unconscious without permanent damage. Controlled violence requiring years of specialized training. The second gunman, entering from the studio's rear, had 3.2 seconds to process what he witnessed, his partner collapsing and a small yoga instructor moving with fluid precision of someone who clearly wasn't what she appeared. "Gun!" he shouted to alert his outside partner, but his warning came too late to change the tactical situation Sarah now controlled completely. Sarah retrieved the first gunman's weapon with movements demonstrating familiarity with firearms, exceeding civilian training by orders of magnitude. Her grip, stance, and target acquisition were textbook special forces, professional, efficient, absolutely lethal if necessary. "Drop your weapon," Sarah commanded, her voice carrying authority her students had never heard but belonging to someone accustomed to being obeyed in life-or-death situations. The second gunman hesitated, recognizing his tactical advantage had evaporated, and he now faced someone whose capabilities he had completely misjudged. His weapon remained pointed toward Sarah, but his body language indicated uncertainty about surrender or confrontation. Sarah made the decision for him. Her movement across the studio floor utilized yoga-trained balance and flexibility, combined with combat tactics that closed distance while minimizing exposure to hostile fire. The second gunman managed one wild shot before Sarah's tackle brought him down with professional technique, ensuring he wouldn't get up soon. The entire confrontation had lasted less than 15 seconds. Everyone stayed down and remained calm, Sarah instructed her students, who stared at their yoga instructor with expressions ranging from shock to disbelief to terror. The situation is under control, but it wasn't completely under control. There was still a third man outside, and Sarah's combat experience taught her that partially neutralized threats could become more dangerous if not handled properly. The third man was speaking rapidly into a radio while scanning the studio's interior with obvious agitation. His body language indicated someone prepared to flee, but receiving instructions that might change his approach. Sarah's training included extensive hostage rescue and civilian protection scenarios. She knew safest resolution required neutralizing all threats before they could escalate or call reinforcements that would endanger her students and other innocent civilians. The third man made his decision at 7:28 p.m. when he began moving toward the front entrance with weapon drawn and obvious intention to continue the assault his partners had botched. Sarah was waiting for him. The third gunman entered expecting to find his partners controlling a dozen terrified yoga students and their helpless instructor. Instead, he discovered his associates unconscious on the floor and a petite woman holding a pistol, with relaxed confidence of someone who had pointed weapons at people many times before. "Seattle police are already on their way," Sarah said calmly, though she hadn't actually called them yet. "You have about 30 seconds to decide whether you want to surrender or find out why your friends are taking a nap." The tactical psychology was perfect. The third gunman could see his operation had failed completely, his partners neutralized by someone whose capabilities he couldn't assess, but who was obviously far more dangerous than anticipated, and his window for escape was closing rapidly. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded, weapon wavering between pointing at Sarah and scanning for threats he couldn't identify. "Someone you really don't want to test," Sarah replied, her tone carrying the same gentle patience she used for yoga instruction, but with underlying steel belonging to someone who had survived combat where hesitation meant death. The psychological pressure was working. The third gunman's body language indicated someone recognizing he was outmatched and looking for an exit strategy allowing escape without further confrontation. Sarah provided him with that option. "Put your weapon on the floor and walk away," she said simply. "Your friends will wake up in 10 minutes with headaches and bruises. Nobody has to get seriously hurt, and you can pretend this never happened." It was a tactical decision based on protecting her students rather than pursuing perfect justice. Neutralizing the third threat would eliminate immediate danger while avoiding complications arising from civilian casualties or extended confrontation that might attract additional criminal response. The third gunman made the smart choice. He placed his weapon on the floor, back toward the door, and disappeared into the Seattle evening with rapid movement of someone who understood he had just dodged a bullet that would have ended his criminal career permanently. Sarah immediately secured the remaining weapons while her students remained on the floor in various states of shock, processing what they had witnessed from their gentle yoga instructor who had apparently transformed into a tactical operative. "Is everyone all right?" Sarah asked, returning to the soft tone her students recognized while conducting visual assessment to ensure none had been injured during confrontation. Margaret Williams, the attorney, was first to find her voice. "Sarah, what just happened? Where did you learn to do that?" Sarah looked around at 12 faces staring with expressions ranging from awe to confusion to fear. These people had trusted her to guide them through stress relief and meditation. Instead, witnessing violence most civilians never experienced even secondhand. "I used to have a different job," Sarah said simply, "before I became a yoga instructor." As Seattle police arrived to process the scene, Sarah found herself explaining her background to people with no framework for understanding what they had witnessed. Detective Maria Santos immediately recognized Sarah's response involved training exceeding civilian self-defense by several orders of magnitude. "Ms. Chen, your background check is going to show military service, isn't it?" Detective Santos asked during Sarah's statement. 8 years, Army Rangers," Sarah replied, knowing basic facts would emerge anyway, and honesty would be more helpful than evasion. "That's quite a career change from Rangers to yoga instruction." Sarah had been expecting this conversation for 5 years. "Some people find peace through meditation. I found it through helping other people find peace." Her students' reactions over following days revealed complex feelings about discovering their yoga instructor's hidden background. Some felt safer, knowing their teacher possessed protective capabilities. Others felt uncomfortable with the revelation that someone they trusted for stress relief had been trained for combat. Sarah understood their concerns and continued teaching those who wanted to learn from her, accepting that her cover as an ordinary civilian had been permanently compromised. 3 months later, Detective Santos returned with an unexpected request involving a hostage situation downtown where Sarah's unique combination of skills might help resolve it peacefully. Sarah looked around her studio with its candles and meditation cushions, then at Detective Santos, whose expression indicated innocent lives were at stake, and Sarah's capabilities might make the difference between successful resolution and tragedy. "What do you need me to do?" Sarah asked, Some people find their calling in peaceful meditation. Others find it in protecting the innocent from harm. Chen had discovered that sometimes the path to inner peace leads through serving others in ways requiring both spiritual strength and tactical precision. The underestimated target had become the protector, and Seattle was safer because sometimes the most dangerous people are those who look the most peaceful.